All right, artists, let's go ahead and grab our paper from last week. Remember, we worked on coloring in our scarecrow as well as our crops, our crow, and our sun or moon, depending on what time of day it was. Now, remember we used warm colors last week. So we filled in our scarecrow using red, orange, and yellow. So for this week, we're going to first talk about our hills, and then we'll move to our sky, and we can talk about warm colors again for that sky. But first, please go ahead and grab some green for watercolors. This week, we're going to first start with those hills. Just a quick reminder about watercolors. So as you are working to paint, if you start to notice you're having trouble spreading your color, please make sure you add some more water. If you're noticing you're not getting enough color, you might have just a bit too much water, so it's okay to go ahead and pick up a little bit more paint. Now, it's also really important that you remember with watercolors that it's like a ballerina dancing on your paper, right? So our brush should have the tip going, gliding across the paper. We definitely don't want to see a booty scooting ballet where our brush is flat. That's going to make it hard to spread color, as well as it'll really ruin our brush. So just remember, ballerina gliding, grabbing some color on your brush, more water if you need to spread that color, maybe a little bit more paint if you have more water. Now I'll also show you a trick. So you can see that up here at the top, I added light green, and then down at the bottom, I have some dark green. Now what I could always do is, after my colors have dried a little bit, I could add a second layer on top to add a little bit of a mixed color. All right, so you can see that I'm going to come and I'm gonna add down to where I have my dark green, I'm gonna add a little bit of a light green on top. I could also go ahead and do the same with my back. I could add some dark green on top of that light green. Do you see how that's coming out? Could be something that you could also try on your paper. If you decide that you would like to see maybe a different tint or shade of green, we'll talk about tints and shades a little bit later this year. So let's talk about our sky. I talked about how we could add warm colors here. Remember those red, oranges, and yellows. But what we could also do is we could maybe add some blue for a nice big blue sky. I think what I'm going to go ahead is I'm going to start off towards the top of my paper, adding in some blue, and then I'll add some warm colors, maybe to make it look as though either the sun is rising or we're coming to a sunset. Alright, so I'll show you here how I can go through and I can start to mix some of my colors together. So you'll see that after I do the blue, I start to add a little bit of yellow below it and some yellow inside that blue too. Then I'll go in with some orange, and I'll go again over some of the areas where I had some of my yellow, and a little bit up to my blue too. Take some time and think about what colors could you add into your sky behind your autumn scarecrow? Okay, so let's talk about an extra added touch that you could add to your paper now that our papers are dry. So, scarecrows, they're made of straw, right? So Miss G had this idea. What if we grab, maybe not necessarily some straw or some hay, but we grab some supplies from outside? For instance, you can see here that I have some maybe a little bit more dead grass, all right, some dead things that I found out in the yard, but they have the same color as straw. So I figured, what if I added this on to all the spots that I have on my scarecrow, such as underneath the hat, on the arms, even poking out the sides of the overalls? So let me show you here how we could do that. Now, no matter what you have at home, you could be using the same as Miss G, maybe some dead grass, maybe if you find some pine needles, maybe if you do have some hay or some straw nearby, whatever you have that slightly resembles some hay or some straw, wouldn't it be pretty cool if we could add that on here as an extra touch, as a way to collage or assemble it onto our papers? So as you can see here, what I'm doing is I'm taking my pieces, cutting them about the same length, and then I put a little dot of glue in the spot where I want it to go, and I arrange them so that they all line up to that glue and then spread out. This is a word we call taper, where they're closer together at one point and farther away at the other point. So go ahead. Maybe you'll also start to add some of your straw. I'm going to start up by the head first. Then I will move down to the sides of my overalls. Even come out for my hands or my arms. Wow! Doesn't it just feel like your scarecrow's almost real? It's truly coming off the page, right? We can not just physically see, but we could also feel those elements that we collaged on. Well, I certainly can't wait to see what your autumn scarecrow looks like.